The President of the Republic of Cameroun has ordered for the discontinuance of legal proceedings against 289 persons arrested within the context of the Anglophone crisis. In this newscast, we tell you more on the presidential decision that was made public just few minutes ago. We shall also be talking about Biya, who has said that he was attacked in his home. He's going to be reacting, of course, in this newscast. He was attacked yesterday by some unknown armed individuals. Those are headlines. We shall be right back with the details. Stay with us. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television for the second time since the start of the Anglophone crisis. In November 2016, the head of state has decided to release some of those who were arrested in connection with the socio-political crisis rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. The recent decision dates just few minutes ago. We are talking about the President of the Republic that has ordered for the discontinuance of proceedings pending before military courts across the national territory against some 289 persons arrested within the context of the Anglophone crisis. The decision is contained in a press release signed by the Minister's Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic, Ferdinand Gongo. The decision is going to be implemented by the Minister Delegate at the Presidency in charge of Defense. We are being joined tonight by senior reporter BABILA Jonathan. Good evening to BABILA Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Right, you're welcome.
We are going to be coming back to the decision by the head of state. Of course, like I indicated, it is the second time that the head of state is taking such a decision. Can you tell us more about this presidential decision?
Of course, it is the second time since the Anglophone crisis began in November 2016. It should be recalled that in August 2017, the President of the Republic decided to free close to 100 persons, and today he has decided again to free more than 100 this time around, close to 289 persons. And there are some issues that should be highlighted as far as this presidential decision is concerned. The first thing is that he does not mention anybody's name, but has just put it in a global form to say that 289 persons, but until now, maybe later the precisions will come, but until now, we don't know who are those who are going to be released.
Whereas in the previous decision, at least we had some of those that were supposed to be released, like Barrister Bobala, we had Dr. Fontemneba and other...
Justice Ayapolabine. Those are the three names that were mentioned by Barrister Agbobala, Dr. Fontemeba, and Justice Ayapolabine. Those are the three names that were mentioned in the first presidential clemency as far as detainees of the Anglophone crisis are concerned. And later on, some persons were released, but others were kept in jail, and they are still there today, including people like Mancho, BBC, who are some of the frontliners as far as the struggle concerning the
Penterans and others that were arrested,
who are still in jail.
And those who were arrested in Nigeria recently and brought to Cameroon. Right,
and this decree signed by the Secretary General at the Presidency of the Republic does not mention anybody's name. We don't know if the frontliners, those who can be referred to as the leaders, Sisiku, Ayuk Tabe, and the others, are concerned by this presidential decree. Probably these precisions may come later.
Since the Ministry of Defense is in charge of that, the Ministry of Defense will certainly be issuing a statement to a release in the coming days to let Cameroonians know,
to give precisions on those who are going to be released. But meantime, it should equally be noted that this is a kind of response to the unceasing calls that have been coming from the civil society, from political leaders, and even from the grassroots, calling for the liberation of these persons who have been detained. We've been receiving these calls streaming in from people like Ayabini, from people like Barrister Agbobala, from civil society and political leaders,
and international community
for the liberation
politicians
of this person. And it should also be recalled.
One of the preconditions given by those organizing the All Anglophone Conference that has been postponed twice.
Exactly, I was coming to that.
Certainly.
Because they naturally thought that these people who have been detained, they are Anglophones, and they are expected to take part in this meeting, which has, however, been postponed. And this is coming like a response. But we don't know who are those who are going to be released, because that is equally a point of interest. Some of the civil society leaders have actually been insisting on people like Sisiku Ayuktabe on grounds that when they speak, what they will say will have more impact on the ground, will have more impact on the people than the others. But all the same, not saying that
as far as the dialogue process is concerned.
As far as the dialogue process is concerned.
When we look at the release that was signed by the Secretary General, the Presidency of the Republic, we see that the disarmament committee that was created just recently by the head of state is what is being highlighted. BABILA Jonathan, what does this actually mean?
This
dialogue is not highlighted, but the disarmament committee is what is being highlighted in that decision.
Yeah, it simply indicates that government has continued on its own track. As far as solving this problem is concerned, there is a track on which government is working on. First of all, and when we look at the disarmament, the creation of the disarmament committee, and of course the call by the President of the Republic in his inaugural speech on the pro-independence fighters to drop their guns, we can quickly read that governments want to restore order first before dialogue can take place. That is what we can read from this. And so releasing these people certainly it may have an impact on the next things that will be happening in the two Anglophone regions as far as the crisis is concerned. But the impact may not be far-reaching if some of the people who are like the leaders are not concerned by the decision. Remember that when the others were freed and Mancho BBC held back, it was like nothing has been done. And the call kept coming. Release Mancho BBC, release these people, because the civil society.
It means that if there's supposed to be release of some of those arrested in connection with the crisis, it should be general and not selective.
Exactly, and the civil society and the political leaders have been calling for release of all those who have been detained, not only some. All those who are being detained, because what is going to happen is that they have said 289 are to be released. Are they only 289 who are being detained? The call will continue. Release those who are in jail. After the release of these persons, the call will continue. Those who will not see their relatives, those who will not see their loved ones, will continue to be worried and will continue calling for the release of those who are there. And this is why the civil society leaders have been calling for release of all those who are being detained.
Thank you so much, BABILA Jonathan. We are talking about the President of the Republic of Cameroon that has ordered for the discontinuance of proceedings pending before military courts across the national territory against some 289 people arrested within the context of the Anglophone crisis. Certainly, in the course of this newscast, we are going to be having a barrister at law react to the presidential decision that was made public just a few minutes ago. The release is equally stating that it is coming in the wake of the establishment of the disarmament, demobilization and reintegration committee that was put in place by the government of Cameroon. The decision, according to the government, is guided by head of state's readiness to give young Cameroonians who wish to renounce violence the opportunity to once again participate in the task of nation building. Those were the words of the President of the Republic that was issued today by the Secretary General of the Presidency. The head of state, according to the decision, is reaffirming his readiness to seek for a peaceful way out of the Anglophone crisis, says the press release. We of course will be having the reaction of a barrister at law that is going to be in the course of this newscast. But before we come to that, we are going to be talking about BABILA. You have something to say before we go?
Yes, we should indicate that this decision is coming and exposing once more some of the contradictions within the Cameroonian administration. We recall that the Minister of Communication, Issa Chiroma Bakari, had said earlier that these people committed crimes, so they cannot be released. He was categorical on that. He said they cannot be released. And even when the Archbishop Emeritus of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese, the Synod Clerk, and of course the moderator of the PCC and the other organizers or conveners of the Anglophone General Conference requested that for a favorable environment for this conference to take place, release these people. The government responded through the government spokesperson and said, no, we can accept this one, but saying that they should release criminals, that is not possible.
But what is certain is that the presidential decision cancels everything.
Of course, the presidential decision cancels everything.
it cancels everything. Thank you so much, BABILA Jonathan. We are going to be taking our viewers to Biya, Southwest Regional Headquarters, to talk about the reaction of Aya Paul Abine, whose residence in Great Sopo, Biya, was yesterday visited by some armed individuals. He said that he was attacked with his family. It was a scary situation. Let's hear him in the following excerpt. He was speaking today to our reporter, Derek Jato. Take a listen.
Around 7:15 in the evening, where some lady just knocked our side door, our side gates, I should say, repeatedly and loudly, crying that we should open, we should open. As they opened, we saw that she's one of our tenants who had been brutalized by some people. Just as we opened, the people who were attacking her came in and ordered everybody to lie down, everybody down. I was in the library. When I heard from the commotion and I rushed out, they ran. One of them ran to me and said, down, down. The other one shouted, why are you wasting time? Shoot him. Why are you wasting time? Shoot him. So as they pushed me down, before then they had pushed my wife to the ground twice on cemented ground. Twice, she's just coming back from the hospital as I'm talking. So one of them entered the girls' room because we have some girl orphans in our compound. We cannot mix them with the boys at the orphanage itself. So he entered the boys' room, and the man who was ordering us, who was wielding a gun, went to the side gate. I took advantage of that now to run into my bedroom. And while I was there, I only heard gunfire. While they were shooting from our compound, there was counter shooting from outside. And I heard people running upwards from our compound upwards. And after some time...
if you go this way, you see my library. I was in the library around 7:15 in the evening. And I heard a loud knock on a side gate behind me. When I opened the door, the one killed me when I opened. So when they opened, we saw it was the relative of one of our tenants. And just as they opened and she came in, two young men rushed in their early 20s. They knocked my wife down twice, everybody down, all man down. So as I came out of the library to inform myself about what was happening, one just pulled me by the shirt I was wearing, tore it, pushed me to the ground. I said, what is the matter? The other one said, why are you wasting time? Shoot him. Why are you wasting time? Shoot him. And I said, for what? You said we should lie down. We are down. What is the problem now? So the one who said shoot him got into the room of our girl orphanage. And we do not know what for, I cannot tell. And while he was there, the one who had pushed us down and was wielding a gun went to the gate, probably to see whether neighbors were coming in. And I took advantage now to crawl into my bedroom. I only heard boom, boom. As they shot, other people were shooting from this side, from the front. Then I heard people running up. When eventually we were told by the military that they were around, we should come out, I saw a number of soldiers pacing up and down in the yard. When they saw that everything was in order, they left. Shortly after, a group of soldiers came again. They left, and then finally the police came. And they too looked around and left. I would imagine.
That is former Justice at the Supreme Court, Barrister Aya Paul Abine, talking about the attack at his residence in Biya, Southwest Regional Headquarters. That was today. We now talk about the situation of human rights in the Northwest and the Southwest regions of the country. The National Commission on Human Rights and Freedoms that is preoccupied about the growing rate of right violation in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroun. They said that the Northwest region is they equally decried the inhuman treatment of some citizens citizens by security forces and pro-independence fighters. They were speaking on the sidelines of the Human Rights Day that was commemorated, the 70th of its kind. That was just a few days ago. They equally called on the government of Cameroon to uplift the curfew that has been going on for several months now, take steps and ensure the respect of human rights of citizens in the two Anglophone regions of the country, and called on the government to prop into the Anglophone crisis. Let's now listen to the Secretary General of the National Commission on Human Rights and Freedom in the Northwest region of Cameroon. He was speaking to Mbu Stella in Bamenda yesterday.
Entirely to ensure the enjoyment of human rights within the region. The government should take more steps to protect, respect and fulfill human rights within the Northwest region. The President of the Republic, who owes his mandate to the people of Cameroon, after having taken his oath, should prop into the Anglophone crisis, which have occasioned a plethora of human rights violations. The government should step up security measures in schools and other public places likely to be targeted by gunmen. This will instill confidence in the minds of the people. The government should embark on inclusive political dialogue as the only solution to the Anglophone crisis.
That is the National Commission on Human Rights and Freedom talking about the preoccupying situation in two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. We are being joined tonight, as we are indicated, by a senior barrister at law, Barrister Ashu Emmanuel. Good evening to you, barristers. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Talking Point.
Good evening, Mimi. Good evening, television.
We are going to be talking about this decision by the President of the Republic of Cameroon that has ordered for the discontinuance of proceedings pending before military courts against some 289 people arrested within the context of the Anglophone crisis. Barrister, to you, how significant is this measure by the President of the Republic?
Well, this is a very important measure which I think has come at the right time, because just last week I was questioned by some Anglophones who asked me, but you are the people who say one Cameroon, one people, one indivisible Cameroon, but how come that when an Anglophone is caught, is arrested, he's taken to military tribunal and charged for terrorism, whereas when Francophones are arrested, charges are dropped? Now, this move creates an equilibrium between the two groups. But most importantly, I think it is the right step in the right direction, because the head of state asked people to leave the bushes and come back to the towns, and we said he had taken no measures to ensure that people disarm, leave the forest and disarm. Now, when he gives this type of amnesty, it is a positive response that will encourage those who are in the bushes to come out and say, well, our head of state has made a gesture to forgive those who have wronged the state. And we think that there is more to be done. You see, he has released the first part of the people. We are in a crisis. Part, of course, because we are in a crisis where the people who happen to be in detention, the interim government, are the people who are pulling the stakes.
So what are some of the things
we are saying that if the head of state can go ahead and release Sisi Kwayuk-Tabi and the others, then there will be an end to this crisis.
So releasing them is an end to the crisis?
Yes, if he releases Sisi Kwayuk-Tabi and his council, I think they are the ones who have the power to call on their fighters to drop the arms.
Now, Barrister, the Ministry of Defense is in charge of implementing this decision. Why the choice of the Ministry of Defense?
It is not a choice. The military tribunal is under the control of the Ministry of Defense. It's not a choice. It is the Ministry of Defense that controls the military tribunal. The judicial authorities of the common law only take control at the Court of Appeal level. But at first instance, it is the military tribunal.
Who are those to be concerned? Who are those who are expected to be concerned as far as this decision is concerned? Those that have already been tried and sentenced?
We still have to see the text.
Or those that are still undergoing trial?
We still have to see the text.
Or those whose case has not yet started in court?
I have to see the full text to understand exactly the scope of...
because it was not precise,
yes,
like
I have to see the scope,
see
the scope of this decree, because you have people who are awaiting trial, they have others who have been convicted already, and they are all being prosecuted for the same thing. I expect that everybody should be concerned with this, because an amnesty for something which the state considers as pardoned. So it should be
pardon for all those
everybody.
arrested within the context
What
of
is good for the
when you
goose is
see
good
the
for the
number
gander.
289 persons, you've been handling a lot of case files as far as this Anglophone crisis is concerned. Do you think that this can appease
almost everybody? Yes.
That is certainly a positive move.
Very
because that is
positive
what
move. I think it's a very positive move. I encourage the government in that direction, and I ask them to go ahead and release Ayuk Tabe and the others. Let them call on their fighters to drop the weapons.
Now, Barrister, tell us how, after this decision by the President of the Republic of Cameroon, because they're talking about the need for the youths, the weapon holders in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon to actually drop their arms, following this decision by the head of state, is to facilitate that move by the President of the Republic. But so far, nothing is mentioned with regards to dialogue that is being preached by many within and out of the national territory. What do you have to say about that? Well,
you see, if we have an enabling condition, in the country, we don't really actually need any meeting of any sort. Because if the government calls on Mr. Ayuk Tabe and his people and say, oh, please tell your people to drop the weapons and let's come to terms, I think we don't need a national dialogue for that. That alone is enough. But if they cannot do that, then they will have to call together all the sons and daughters of Cameroon so that we sit on the table. Because as I said, the people who are calling the stakes are the people in prison. Because if you look at the IG that is abroad, they all refer themselves to Ayuk Tabe and others.
So according to you, this is the beginning of an end to the...
It's a positive beginning. I hope the head of state continues in that light to order the release of the interim government. And although the people said they are not Cameroonians, but I know that it's just a bluff. We all know they are Cameroonians. Mr. Ayuk Tabe comes from my village, and you see, we all know they are Cameroonians, and so the head of state should carry out this positive move by releasing all of them so that peace can come back to our beloved nation.
Thank you so much, Barrister, for joining us tonight on Talking Point. We hope to have you some other time again.
You're welcome.
Before we take our next guest, we are going to be talking about the challenges ahead of the new president of the Cameroonian Football Federation, Seydou Mbonjo, who is the new president of FECAFOOT. He takes control of the institution that has suffered several infighting because of poor laws and poor management. Sumanjika Gabriel, in the following report, is going to be taking a look at some of the challenges ahead of the new president of FECAFOOT. His report.
Seydou Mbonjo, recently elected as president of FECAFOOT, is an old broom in the football governing body of Cameroon. Before his election, FECAFOOT has gone 15 months under the control of the Normalization Committee imposed by FIFA. Because of the infighting, his major task is first to uplift the sinking FECAFOOT boat and enable the football fraternity that has been fragmented to get back to its real roots. A bigger challenge for Seydou Mbonjo will be for him to reawaken the female and youth football that have witnessed a natural death. Reasons why the results from the women and youth football at either continental or international level are catastrophic. Again, Seydou Mbonjo will have the tough task of bringing order to the administration of the national football teams whenever they have to travel out. In recent times, either team officials or players are left behind because of lack of visas. Seydou Mbonjo will also have to look into the problem of bonuses that have always portrayed an ugly image of Cameroon outside. The management of finances and material resources accruing from sponsorship deals and fallouts of friendship encounters will also be a key area Njoya will have to show key interest. Finally, our so-called professional football league, which continues to display signs of amateurism, will definitely interest the new FECAFOOT boss. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step.
Third edition. And that brings us to the end of the first segment of the news. Up next, we are going to be meeting Miranda Oben. She is an IT engineer, Germany founder and president of the Returnees Project. We shall be right back. Stay with us. Good evening to you once again, ladies and gentlemen. Some 256 persons have been registered to take part in the Returnees International Conference award ceremony that would take place tomorrow in Bonanjo in the country's economic capital, Douala. We have been joined tonight by the CEO, founder of this particular project, Madam Miranda Oben. She is IT Engineer Germany, founder and president of the Returnees Project. Good evening to you, Madam. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Tell us more about this project that is facilitating the return and investment of diasporans in Cameroon.
I realized when I visited every time in Cameroon that there were fingers being pointed at the diaspora. And on the other hand, in the diaspora, there were fingers being pointed at Cameroon. And I thought to myself, we're one country, but we seem to behave like separate entities. So I thought, how can we link the two worlds so that everybody who is in the diaspora feels that connection to home? Then I found out that those who have lived in the US, in the UK, Germany, and so on, and have returned home are like that bridge which links those who never left home, those who are still abroad, because they understand the two worlds. So it was just an idea, and then it became a huge vision, and today we have lots of people coming in from the diaspora to meet here tomorrow with the visionaries and entrepreneurs in Cameroon, and under the high patronage of the Ministry of External Relations, to now discuss, exchange, see where we can invest, what can we do. And if you want to return, then there are a lot in the diaspora now who get in touch with our platforms, talk about which domains they're interested in, IT, medicine, agriculture, fashion and beauty, anything. And then we get in touch with our teams on the ground in Cameroon in 5 regions, and they connect them. So 11 diaspora countries, 5 regions in Cameroon, and we're expanding, and 18 African countries currently replicating our project.
And hoping that it can only get better. And just to know that this is the third of its
This
kind.
is the third edition.
Tell us how far you've been able to go so far. You said it started in 2016.
Exactly. You have a good memory there. December 16, 2016, we started this. It was just an idea. But where we are today, we thought we were going to be like this in 7 years. So our expansion grew so much. People embraced the project. I'm thinking of Dr. Kumbe, for example, who would leave Yaoundé, leave the Eye Institute, and come all the way to Douala just to tell others that this is exactly what we've wanted to have. This is exactly what we need for the nation to grow. The socio-economic situation in this country is not good, but if you find these entrepreneurs who are on the ground, link them with the entrepreneurs from the diaspora, instead of having single people struggling and moving back, returning and not being satisfied and passing on the wrong message to the diaspora, get those who are experts, use their best practices, put everybody on a platform, and then link the two worlds and have a synergy of a 3-way platform, and that's unique of its kind.
You say you've been able to attain your objectives so far, but it wasn't without some challenges. Tell us about what were some of the challenges that you faced in the course of this initiative?
That's a very, very good question. First of all, geographically, if you have to control 11 diaspora countries and 5 regions in Cameroon, it means you cannot be present physically. But then we rely on technology, which is great. But I looked out for a team which understands my vision. And this team I have is those 8 core people who are able to expand now. So first, get a team which grasps my vision was very difficult. And as soon as I found them, it always worked. And then these would try to get in touch with the diaspora. At first, the diaspora thought, you're telling us to go back home. But then we told them, no, we're saying when you're going back home, we are here to help you. When you're investing back home, we already have people on the ground doing it who are going to hold your hand. If you make a mistake, don't worry, we're here for you. And so we opened and expanded our platform. Of course, there is the credibility. We needed to be credible. I had to be credible in Cameroon, although I live in Germany.
Certainly.
So how do I do that? By building the trust.
Is it easy to invest in Cameroon without going through the Returnees project?
It would be difficult if you try on your own. I'm not saying we're the best solution. I'm saying we're
because diasporans have a particular problem about investing in Cameroon. They have always been facing a lot of difficulties.
To be honest, the tax system is killing most of the businesses. And so for people who have succeeded, even with this taxation possibility or trouble we have in the nation, we ask them, how did you do it? Who did you work with who didn't ask you lots of sums of money, which was not the exact amount you need to register your company? So then we have Barrister Paul Jing, who actually is helping the diasporans return, because he has given pro bono services. We have Christian Gang, Thierry Nyam, and all these entrepreneurs.
So with the Returnees project is a little bit easier.
Yeah, it is.
Is it because you're working in partnership with the government to facilitate the process?
It is helping because the government, I always say, it's a structure. It's not a person with a heart like you and I, Mimi. So we looked for people in the government who understand the concept, who carry it for us. So we went to the Ministry of External Relations, and every time we talked to people, we could pick those ones who have understood the project project, who now carried it on through magazines and newspapers and expanded
Before we
it. And
go,
it's
tell us
easier.
more about what would happen tomorrow, just
Tomorrow,
briefly.
tomorrow, first of all, is going to be the conference, the exchanges. We have entrepreneurs who are based here, who have already been selected and profiled in our magazine. And then we have the entrepreneurs coming in from the diaspora who are going to meet on the platform and exchange business to business. Like, how did you do it? How did you register? And then very important, the diaspora has the biggest problem is the tax system. The second problem is the health system. The third problem is how do I integrate the community? So we have now a tax expert coming in tomorrow to answer the diasporans' questions. Then at the conference, we have now the health experts because the medical doctors in Germany have sent a team to come talk to people on the ground. And then we have the VKE, which is the engineering department in Germany, which is, because I'm from Germany, which is here to talk to the people. And the awards in the evening, we have dinner with 10 people who have been able, through the challenges, to make it in the nation. So we want to award them or recognize them so they can tell their stories.
Inspiration as
exactly.
Well to others.
And
Thank
that's
you
what
so
we
much,
say, be an inspiration.
Madam Miranda Oben,
Yes.
for joining us tonight on Talking
Thank
Point.
you for having me.
We hope to have you some other time again.
Gladly.
That was an IT expert, Germany, founder of and president of the Retenese project in Cameroon and equally abroad. They're bringing us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Viewers, so thank you so much for joining us. Wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.